Hello students, welcome to lecture 2 of arrays chapter. The last class we have learned about arrays, the basic introduction to arrays. We have also learned how to declare an array, how to initialize an array while declaring, right? So in today's class, we will see how to input elements into the array through a scanner object. Okay, so in today's class, the topics we will be covering are how to create an array, how to create arrays of different data types, how to input elements into the array through scanner object, how to display array elements with the help of some programs. Fine. Now, see, if you are asked to input an array element, if you are asked to input a single element, how do you do that? Through a scanner object, how will you input an element? You have to use import and all that. You create a scanner object and you will be writing this way, right? Int n is equal to the scanner object dot the scanner method, right? You will input a single integer through a scanner object like this, right? Now, if you are asked to input array elements, now for example, if there are 10 elements you need to accept, then that means this statement has to be repeated 10 times because you have to accept 10 elements. And since a repetition is involved, you will be using a for loop because you know how many times you are going to input the element, right? So whenever you have to accept data through scanner, first we create an array, right? And the syntax for creating an array, I'll just show you. Just a minute. Yes. So first we create an array using the syntax as shown below. Let's see an example first. The first thing when you want to accept data through scanner object is first we have to create an array. What do you mean by creating an array? If you see this example, the array is an integer array is equal to new int and this is the array size. So what is the significance of this statement is when this is executed by compiler, internally what happens is 10 memory locations will be reserved for storing 10 integer elements. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. Now, this is your array. New is always related to the memory and this is the array size. So whenever you're creating an array, you need to use this syntax, the data type, array name, followed by square bracket is equal to new data type and the array size. You can create an array of any data type using the same syntax. So let's again go back to the significance of this statement. When this is executed, internally the compiler will allocate a memory for storing all these elements. Now, for one integer, it is 4 bytes. So for 10 integers, it is 40 bytes, right? So a 40 bytes of memory will be allocated here in the memory. And you also know that unless a value is given to those elements, memory cannot be allocated. We have done it in constructor. So here also the default value will be assigned to all the memory location and then only memory will be allocated to all these integers. So the default value for an integer is 0. So this will happen when this statement is executed, right? So if you have a float array, Then internally 0.0, the default value of float will be assigned to all the array elements when the memory is allocated, right? So this is the significance of the given statement. So suppose if you write SOP A of 0 after creating this, so you can see the answer you will get is 0 because 0 is initialized while creating an array as it is the default value of an integer. Okay, so this takes place when an array is created. After that, you have to input elements into the array. You have to input elements into the array of your choice, right? These are the default values given by the compiler while array is created. Now, how do you initialize, how do you assign values to the array is like this. For a single value, how you accept the elements is through scanner object dot nextInt. Now here you have to accept 10 elements, right? You are accepting more than one element, therefore you are using an array. So here we will put this sc.nextInt within a for loop as we are repeating this statement multiple times. Now here you know the array index starts with 0, right? So this element is referred using A of 0. Now when this is executed, how this executes? Now here first I is 0, right? And then it comes to the condition. 0 less than A dot length. A dot length here is 10. The array size is 10. So this is true, therefore it will enter the for block and it will ask user to enter the value. Suppose I enter 10. So that value will be assigned to A of 0. I is 0. So A of 0. So this 10 will be assigned to A of 0 and that change will take place in the memory. The 0 will get replaced by 10. And from here, again, the control goes back to I++. Now your I, which was initially 0, becomes 1. And from here, back to condition. Now condition is true. 1 is less than 10. Therefore, again, it will enter the block and it will ask user to enter the second value. Suppose I enter 20. Now 20 is assigned to A of 1. So A of 1 is the second value and what we are assigning 20. So now that 0 will get replaced by 20. So likewise, using the for loop, you will input elements into the array one by one, right? So for any array program, these are the common steps. You have to first create an array depending on the data type of the elements you are storing in an array. And this is how you will input array elements. Only this scanner method will vary depending on the type of values you are accepting. Okay, so just practice that in BlueJ. So this for loop will execute 10 times starting from I0 till 9. And when I becomes 10, 10 less than 10 will be false and the control will come out. So this is how you have to input elements into the array. Hope you understood that. Now let's understand all of this through a simple program. And one more thing, if you want to display array elements, see once all these changes takes place in the memory, and if you want to display the array elements, you will just write SOPLn A of I. Again, you are displaying all the elements. So you have to repeat this SOPLn 10 times in this case. So you will use a for loop again and put this SOPLn within the for loop for displaying the array elements. So this will execute 10 times starting from SOPA of 0, SOPLN A of 1, SOPLN A of 2 till A of 9. right? And always keep the input and the logical and display part in two separate loops. Do not club input and output together. Always do the input in a separate for loop and the output, the display part or the logical part in another for loop. Do not club both input and output together. Okay. Now, let's understand this through an array program. Here, there are three programs here. 1, 2, and this is your third program. Now, here, let me show you the second program, which is little important. Write a program to input percentages of n students of a class and print the maximum and the minimum percentage scored. Okay, so here the size of the array is n. It is not given as number but as a variable n. So here what you will do first, you will first input n. You will input the size of the array, which is n. Input n, the size. Okay, and after that you will create an array. Create an integer array. Okay, this percentage, so you can use float or integers. Create an array of an integer with size n, and then you will input elements into the array. Okay, so this part is clear. First, since here the size is not given in number, you have to input the size, store it in n, then create an array of size n, and then input elements into the array. And then your logical part will start with respect to finding the max and the min. Once you find, then you will display the value of max and min, right? So this is the basic algorithm. So whenever you are doing the program, first read the question carefully, understand it properly, have a sequence ready in your mind, stepwise, and then you start typing the program or writing the program. Okay. So let me open a BlueJ. Yeah, so here you have the program for finding the max and min. Now again, there may be various logics. You can do the same program in different ways. Some of you can use math function math.max, which checks maximum of the two values accepted, or you can just use if and find the max and min. So the logics can vary from person to person. You can use any one. So here, let's understand this program. Here we are accepting data through scanner. So first we write import statement, as we are going to use scanner methods for accepting the data. Then is the class name, then public static void main. Some of you might be writing string args within main. So it is up to you. It is not compulsory, but your program will work with or without the parameter here. And then we create the scanner object. Here, this is an identifier. You can use whatever you're used to. And then enter the size of the array. Here, we are first asking user to enter size of the array, which I'm storing it in a variable n. Okay. Then we create the array of size n. So this is the syntax. This is I'm using the syntax for creating an array. The data type, array name followed by square bracket is equal to new data type and the array size within the square bracket. So this is how you have to create an array of any data type. Only this data type will vary depending on the type of elements you are accepting into the array, right? This is a valid identifier. It can be any valid identifier, need not be always A, okay? And new is a keyword which is related to allocating memory to the array elements. Again, the data type, and this is the array size. The number of elements you want to store in an array has to be given in array size within square bracket like this. Okay, and then once you create the array, as I told you, the significance of this, suppose I enter n as suppose 4 elements. Okay, suppose I enter n as 4. So my array of size 4 will be created. So the significance of this is internally 1, 2, 3, the 4 memory locations, each of 4 bytes will be reserved. So total 16 bytes will be reserved for storing 4 integer elements. Okay, so this will take place internally, and the default values given to those memory location is 0 as the data type of array is int. Okay, now we enter array elements. Secondly, after we create array, then we have to input elements into the array. Now here we are using sc.nextInt, but it is repeating 4 times in this case. So we put that within a for loop starting from 0. So whatever element I enter will be assigned to a of 0 first. And here a of 0 is referring to the first value here. Suppose I enter the values as 10, 20, 3, 14. Right. So when I enter 10, 10 will be assigned to a of 0, the first value. Then the loop will execute second time when I becomes 1, true, enters the block, and the second value I enter will be assigned to a of 1. So your 0 here turns 20. Likewise, this will become 3 and this will change to 14. Right? So this will happen when this for gets executed, which is for accepting elements into the array. Okay. So creating array, input elements into the array. This is the common part in every array. Just take care of the appropriate data type, the array size, and the string, the scanner object you need to use for accepting the corresponding data type elements. Okay. After that, I assign, okay, let's check with max, how we will find maximum of all the array elements. So what I do here is I'm assigning first element as max. So my max here, let's also do the dry run here to understand the logic. Now I have assigned the first value to max. Okay. Now here your the variable involved is I, which is initially 0. 0 less than a dot length, true, it will enter. Now you are comparing max with a of 0. Here you can even start it with 1 because already a of 0 is in max. So even though it doesn't matter. Now here, see, max, we are using the variable max to store the maximum of all the array elements. So whenever your max is less than any other array element, you make that element the maximum. Okay, that's why the sign we use here is less than. Whenever your max variable is less than an array element, you will put that array element into max because that array element is greater than max and you have used max to store maximum, right? So whenever you do this max min, just think of this symbol, this this relational operator, less than and greater than. That is the only main part there. So always think logically when you're doing this if condition you're applying. So here A of 0 is less than A of 0. So here the condition is false. So your max will not execute. This will execute only if the condition is true. Right? Now it will go back to this. Now I becomes 1. 1 less than 4 is true. Now max less than A of 1. Yes. So the condition here is max less than A of 1. And what is A of 1? A of 1 is 20. So here the condition is true. Therefore, you are assigning, this will execute and A of 1 will be assigned to max. So max becoming 20. Right? Now again the control will go to I++, 2, true. Now max less than A of 2. What is A of 2? Is 3. So max less than A of 2. This is false. Therefore, this will not execute. And again, the control will go to I becoming 3. And the condition is max, which is 20, less than A of 3. A of 3 is 14. Now, again, the condition here is false. Therefore, this will not execute and your max remains same. And then when I becomes 4, 4 less than 4 is false. It will come out of the loop. So I'm only showing dry run for max. You can also do it for min, same way. So once you're done with the loop, what do you see the value stored in max? It is the maximum value, right? So once you find a max of all the array elements, you can just display the maximum value. Maximum is max. Okay, similarly, the logic for min is also same here. So hope you all understood that. Here, since there is just one value, max and min, so that doesn't require any loop. You have to just display a single value. Therefore, you can display that max and min outside the loop just once. Yes, so here the max and min values are displayed. Okay, so I'll just execute this and show you the output. Right click, call the main function. Since it is static, we can directly call the function. Enter the array size. Let me give 5 as the array size. Now I have to enter 5 array elements. So let me give 2 space 100 space 30 space 80 and 20. Okay, so okay, let me make it 1. So out of all this, the maximum is 100 and minimum is 1. So let's see if our program is working correctly. Yes, so it is giving the right output. Maximum value is 100 and minimum is 1. Okay. So this is a more general program where array size is also accepted from the user. Okay. So let's go back to our other programs for today. Yes, so here the first program which you see is WAP to input marks of all subjects of a student and compute and display the total and the average marks. So here you have to first create an array. Now how many subjects you have? Nearly 10. So you will create an array for storing 10 marks of a student. Then you input elements into the array. Input elements and then you can find the total. Since total has nothing to do with the display part, you can even find total while accepting the input, right? And then basically the total will be, you will be calculating it as t. You can take as a variable t equal to 0 for storing the sum, and t is equal to t plus a of I. because here you need to add all the array elements. So you will put this statement within a for loop, as you have to consider all the array elements. Okay. So once this for loop executes, then you can come out of the loop and display the total and the average, which will be total by the number of subjects. Okay. So please try that program on your own. Fine. And the next third question here, WAP to create an array storing 5 characters and display all the characters with their corresponding ASCII value. Yes, so here you need to create an array of char data type. Okay, create an array for storing 5 characters. So the array size will be 5. After that, you will input elements into the array using the method, next dot charAt 0. This is how you will input characters into the array through scanner object. Remember. Okay, and then you will input all the 5 characters through this within a for loop, and then you have to display the output. For example, I input the value, suppose a 1 and some b and z. Okay, so your output for this program will be something like this. It should come this way. The character and ASCII value. Right. So your output should come like this. A and its ASCII value, which is 97. Then our next character is A with ASCII value 65. The next character is 1 whose ASCII value is 49. Next character is B with the ASCII value 98. So your output should appear something like this. Okay. It is very easy. You know how to convert a character into its ASCII. It's something like implicit conversion. Okay. So try it out. Use first create an array, then input elements into the array, then use another for loop for doing this logical part. Here you need to display each element of the array. So this statement will be within the for loop, right? So please try out all these programs in BlueJ and become comfortable using arrays. Create arrays of different data types like names, storing the name, characters, integers, float values, input them into the array, display them. So just try out few programs so that you become comfortable using arrays. And next class onwards, we will do little more logical based programs. So before that, make sure you are comfortable using arrays, right? So with this, we come to the end of today's class. Hope you understood. I would only say, please practice all these programs in BlueJ. Thank you, everyone.